Okay, today we are here with Kathy Gomberg, and she's gonna tell us a little bit about her experience as a music educator. So you can go ahead.
Okay. I decided I wanted to be a music educator when I was 12, which is, I guess, unusual, but I was in sixth grade and I went, you know what? My favorite part of school is band. And I was learning clarinet, and I was already taking piano lessons.
Yeah.
And I decided that. So when I went to college, I'm like, I want to teach kids how to play band instruments. That was my plan. So then I, got the degree. It was great. I moved out to Illinois. I was in Nebraska at the time, and I didn't want to stay in Nebraska because the job opportunities there were teaching kindergarten through 12, band and chorus, and doing everything in a small town and living in a trailer and talking to farmers. And
you're like, no.
Not at all. I mean, only because they have cities and bigger places in Nebraska to teach, but those jobs were impossible to get.
Yeah.
Because everybody would start in a small town.
So you're like, no.
I wanted to come out to Chicago because I had some family out here.
Yeah.
And I interviewed for a bunch of jobs, mostly choral music or general music, just because that was what was available.
Yeah.
And ended up taking a job with it was a company called Band for Today. It was an independent contracting company that sent band teachers to Catholic schools in the Chicagoland area. So that was my first job. Yeah. So it was great. It was a great experience. The pay was garbage, but it was fine. It was terrible. And I did that for 3 years and then decided, you know what? I've learned a lot. I do know that I love teaching kids. Yeah. I love teaching kids how to play instruments. However, I don't love going to 9 schools every week and teaching for a few hours here and there and making peanuts. Mm-hmm. So I started looking for a suburban job.
Yeah.
And lucked out and got the job in Schaumburg, Illinois. Yeah. And Schaumburg, the school district 54 is I want to say the largest suburban K through 8 school district.
Wow.
In Illinois. So we don't have, we have like 28 schools, I think. Mm-hmm. There's 5 junior highs, 22, 23 elementary schools, 1 K through 8 building, and a whole building just for preschool.
Wow.
So it's a big place. There's like 20 of us teachers, band and orchestra in the department.
Wow.
But it's been great. I started out, the job was mostly teaching band and then a few string lessons too. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, well, sure, and I took the high strings and low strings. I took 2 semesters of string classes in college.
Yeah.
I really can do this. And I've been teaching band for a few years, so this will be fine. So I started that job. It was great. And it had the half-hour a week, and I just was going to elementary schools. Mm-hmm. I think it was at 4 schools. So like each day was a different one, but then, which is pretty standard around here with elementary, with the beginning band and orchestra. Mm-hmm. So I did that, and I taught some string lessons, and I taught the first day, I went and taught a couple of kids how to play the violin. And we just plucked around on the A and the D string, and then, learned how to hold it and looked at the book. And I was like, wow, that went pretty well.
Yeah.
And then the next group came in, and they were viola players. And and this is like 8 years after I had taken strings class. And they, we did the same thing, pluck around on the A and the D string. And I knew that there were different locations. And then I opened the kids' book and I went, oh my God, I forgot alto. Forgot, like it wasn't on my radar. No. I did not remember. I don't think the kids knew that I didn't remember. I recovered pretty
just quickly. In your brain you're like
right in my brain I was like, oh my God, what is this? I just forgot. It came back to me, and it's fine.
Yes.
And it was okay. And then I did that part of the job for a few years. And then a new building opened up in our district, and they were looking for somebody to teach both band and orchestra.
Yeah.
No one in my department had any interest in that. And I said, I'll try something new. Sure. I was doing both anyway, but this was like at one building.
Yes.
I said, sure. So I did that. And then over the years, it evolved into, I started with 3 kids in orchestra.
Yeah.
And then was at that building for 18 years. And but when I left, there were like 30 kids in orchestra and 60 or 70 kids in band. And so the whole program just grew and flourished.
That's amazing. That is so cool to see it,
and then
growth,
Yeah, well, the whole school grew. It was a brand new school. It was a school of choice. It was a lottery to get into it. So it wasn't it wasn't a neighborhood school. And then at some point, one of the junior high buildings, the orchestra teacher was retiring. And she said, Kathy, I think you should take my job. And I went, why did I do that? I love my job. And she's like, if you wanted to change, you could do this. I'm like, I got about 15 years left to teach, so maybe. And then I thought about it. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. So teaching orchestra is easier than teaching band. There's fewer instruments. They all play in concert pitch. Yep. Everything they do is on the outside of their body. So it's real obvious when they're holding their hand wrong. Yeah. Whereas you can't see what's going on inside their mouth.
Exactly.
And generally, not always, but generally the kids are a little nicer. Not always. Yeah. Band kids are awesome, but the orchestra kids are a little quieter, tiny bit. So I said, sure. So then I jumped ship. I left that building. I'd been for 18 years and started at Keller Junior High. And I have been at Keller 5 years now, so I'm about to start my sixth.
So do you love that so far, doing the orchestra full time?
I do. It's so much simpler. It's just, it's hard for me to teach it because I am not a violinist. And so demonstrating to my higher level junior high kids is really hard. Yes. Like the beginners and stuff, I'm fine. But I never took violin lessons. I probably should have.
But it's perfect that they're at that junior high level, because it's not like you have to have the high school rep, but at the same time, like, you can get them started and you kind of have the baseline knowledge to do that. So that's awesome.
Right. And the high school directors around here have been very supportive of me. And when I've asked them, okay, what do you want? What am I not doing? What do you need the kids to know when they grow up to you? They've been pretty open about it and not judgmental at all. Just happy that a normal human is teaching kids, and hopefully the kids are enjoying it and we'll find it.
Well, that's really what matters, because you're kind of bringing those kids in. So it's like, if you can get more kids to join and keep going through high school, then that's really what they need,
That's the idea. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. So out of the four strings, what's your favorite to play? Being a clarinetist and switching. Viola.
Yes.
I love it.
Well, and my son plays viola. He just graduated from college, but he plays viola, and it's really nice to listen to. I feel like I feel like my playing, I sound better when I play a viola.
Yes.
But it could be the quality of my son's viola versus the quality of my grandfather's violin that I'm playing.
You're like, this just sounds so nice.
It does. It just sounds full and beautiful. Yeah. And I play the violin. I'm like, I don't like it. It doesn't sound good. I know it's me.
But still, no.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then cello and bass, I do it a little bit here and there, but I just can't get physically comfortable.
Yeah.
I never tried very hard, but
they are kind of awkward sometimes. I'm a cellist, so it's kind of weird sometimes.
Okay.
But it's good. I love it. So what inspires you as a music educator? What keeps you teaching?
Even the very beginning kids, what keeps me teaching is seeing their faces light up when they figure it out. Like the first time they realize how to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and they're like, I can play a recognizable song, and just the joy in their faces and the pride they feel. The older kids, after, we sight read something a few months ago and it sounded like garbage, and now we learned it and now we're performing it, and just the growth that I see in the kids every day.
I love that too. One of my favorite parts too. That's awesome. Yep. Do you have any advice for new music educators? Or future music educators?
Future or new music educators? It's not exactly what you expect. Like when it's different, it's going to be a different experience than what you had when you were growing up and you were the student in music education. Kids now, they're like when I was a kid, I don't think it's been this way in a while. When I was a kid, my sister and I had to, after dinner, she played trumpet, I had to practice piano. And my mom set a kitchen timer, like 30 minutes every day, and we did it. And that was pretty standard. But this is a long time ago. Now, there's a lot of kids that don't take their instrument out of the case at home. And there are some students, depending on where you're teaching, that shouldn't take the instrument out of the case at home because they've got 7 people living in an apartment and a dog running around, and you never know what's going to happen to them. And so you have to be more flexible than I realized, and try to understand where the kids are coming from.
Yeah.
Like instead of going, all right, well, this is where I want to get at the end of the first year, you kind of just start them and you get wherever they get. And then the next year you start from where they are and continue. You can't really, it's hard to plan ahead until you are actually working with the kids.
Yes.
Like you can't really plan repertoire specifically until you can see what each group is.
It's like, I'm just going to plan all these nice things. And then it's like, not going to work out, you know?
Right.
You don't know.
So every concert cycle, I just throw a bunch of music at it. I'm like, this is not going to work. This one will.
And see what works. Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of went through that this year. Last year was my first year teaching. So I had no idea like where my choir was going to be at. So I had to kind of just go in and like test some things and see what would work. And I think that's great advice, because you know, I go and I'm thinking like, I think we all, like you kind of said, like we use like our past as like kind of what we think it's gonna be like I use my past experience. I'm like, oh yeah, well it'll probably be like this and I might be able to do this, and then I get there and I'm like, actually this is not gonna work.
It's not like that at all. Okay.
And it's okay. Yeah. And I love what you said about, you know, you have got to be a little more relaxed with the kids and kind of see where they're coming from, because it's not always, okay, mom's got the kitchen timer on, we're practicing, you know. It's not this. So that's also really.
But you also, on the other hand, then you also have kids who are just don't practice and aren't that great at it but love it, and kids that are just anywhere. And my first year at this new school I was at, I had a student who's a bass player. He was an 8th grader, and he talked nonstop. He was constantly disrupting class. So but he played well and he showed up all the time. He did everything he was supposed to do. So on the first report card, I think he had like a, 90 point something %.
Yeah.
So he and his dad came to parent teacher conferences, and the dad said, can you tell me about his grade? And I said, well, yeah, you got an A. I think he's doing great. And the dad said, well, this is his lowest A. And I was thinking, I'm like, what do you mean lowest A? Oh, you mean the percentage?
Yeah.
He said, yes. And I'm like, I look at the kid and I said, tell your dad why you don't have an A+. Like I made the kid tell the dad. I didn't need it. And the kid knew. Yeah, he knew. So, but it's coming from the kid. Right. That dad came in mad at me because the kid had a low grade. I'm like, I am not engaging in this conversation. You are having this conversation with your parent.
You talk to your dad, figure it out. Because they know.
Yeah, and do it right now. Yeah, they know. And in front of me. And the dad was like, oh. Okay, thank you, and then left.
Thanks. Lowest day. Why? That's funny. Oh my gosh. Well, it's like that sometimes, but good to put it on the kid, be like, hey, how about you try this? So
if you always, I feel like one of the things I strive for is to teach the kids that it's their responsibility. Like if they're gonna practice, they're gonna get better. If they're not very good at it, I ask them how much time they spend practicing, and they tell me, and I'm like, well, okay, so you're not going to be the greatest player ever, but if you enjoy it and that's what you're willing to put in, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
I try to make them understand they're in control of it.
Yeah, it's not you, and you're facilitating, but they need to put the work in or not put the work in to get what the result they want. Awesome. Do you have any tips that helped you become successful in your career?
Keep a sense of humor. Don't take anything personally, which is hard, especially when you're young. And be ready to have things to say to parents.
Any advice?
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Any advice for parent conversations?
Put it on the kid. Make the kid talk to the parent.
Yeah.
Like at least, I don't know if everyone does this, but with us, the kids come to the conferences with their parents. And so, or even if it's a parent phone call or something, if the parent seems really upset, you want to get off that phone call as soon as possible.
Yes.
If the parent is happy, obviously talk a lot, but if the parent just has a question, but once in a while you get an upset parent, and you need to have a way out of that conversation. And if you've got a good administrator, what usually works is, I'm sorry, I have to go right now, but if you would like to continue this conversation, I would be happy to schedule a meeting with one of our administrators, and we can all sit together.
Yes.
And I think I've only used that 2 or 3 times in my career, and not one time has the parent actually said, okay, let's do that and talk with the kids.
But it's good that you have that backup, and that, okay, my back pocket in case I need it.
Right. So if you have a way you want to be able, even with students, like if a student's going to argue with you, you want to be able to get out of that. There's no reason to let a student argue with you. You're the adult and you can tell them, I'm sorry, this is not a good time. Let's talk about it after class. Yes. And then you can have some time to calm down and figure out how you want to handle the situation instead of letting them engage you in an argument or a confrontation.
Yeah, that's good.
I didn't mean to get all about the negative stuff.
But it's good to hear about that. It does, yeah. Then my last question is, what is one of your favorite memories or experiences as a music educator?
I think my favorite thing is when I go, because I've taught at so many schools in the area, I pretty much go anywhere and am recognized by a former student. We go out to a restaurant and the hostess will say, "Did you teach instruments?" I'm like, Yes. Everywhere we go. And so, which tells me that, okay, either I'm really memorable for whatever reason, but they wouldn't talk to me if they didn't enjoy their time in my class.
Exactly.
And remember fondly playing an instrument.
Yes.
That makes me happy anytime that happens.
Yep. Going out and seeing the students. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and
I
often don't recognize them, but because
that's okay.
I haven't seen them.
You have so many, and they grow up,
right? Yes, they do.
It's like you said, they wouldn't be doing that if they didn't, think, remember you or had a good time.
Or if they didn't enjoy the class, enjoy what they were doing. They would be like,
"Oh, I'm not going to talk to her." Yeah,
I'm going to turn around and walk the other direction.
Yeah. So I love that. Well, I really appreciate you coming today and talking and giving us your experiences and advice. Well, thank you.
Great. And you're working on a grad school project?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Cool. It is. I'm finishing up interviews on Saturday, so I should be able to compile everything to a YouTube channel here soon, and then I'll post it back I'll post it on the Facebooks again so people can check it out.
Okay. Great.
Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your summer.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. You too.
Bye.